This recipe is a continuation of the Doppelbock beef video that I posted recently. This is one application for the meat that you obtain, and boy is it a good one. I love this dish because the flavor is so novel and delicious. Like Russia, Azerbaijani cuisine is also expanding with the availability of new food products such as Parmesan cheese. There are many different types of PLOV or pilaf, but the method used for getting that special smoky, crisp flavor is unique to that region of the world and something that every foodie must try.
I have this cooking liquid from the Doppelbock beef from the other video. I let this sit in the refrigerator overnight, but because of the amount of olive oil that was used to cook that, the fat isn't separating into a clean layer the way that it does if it's just pure beef fat. There's a lot of a lot of liquidy component here, but that's okay. This is still going to work. We want to skim off the kind of like thicker part off of the top of this, and we just have to accept that there's going to be some fat left behind, and there's going to be some aqueous portion in this, but that's okay. It's going to work just fine. This portion is going to be set aside in the refrigerator and used for something else. Another video where we're going to make potatoes using this, but right now we're going to make the rice for this this next dish using this liquid here. This is the basmati rice. All I did is put it into a sieve and rinse it with some cold water. Now I'm going to add that 60 grams of the broth that the beef was cooked in, and 250 mils of water, 1 cup, and we're going to bring this to a simmer. Okay. After you bring this up to a boil, you reduce the heat way down to a simmer. You do want to boil it a little bit, a minute first. Okay, this is about a minute later. I turned the heat down from maximum to 2. On a 1 to 10 scale, it's on 2. Now it's barely at a simmer. I'm going to let it sit like this for about 10 minutes. And just to show you, this is the kind of bare simmer I'm talking about. There's little bubbles here and there. This is actually on 3 now, on a 1 to 10. 2 was a little bit too low. So we're just going to keep it at this very bare simmer for the remaining time here, which is about 5 more minutes. Now, after 10 minutes, you should have something that looks like this. And I have increased the heat a little bit during this cooking time because as it thickens up, it needs more heat to maintain that simmer. It is not completely cooked. It's real close. Now we're going to put a lid on it, turn the heat off completely, put a lid on it, and let it sit for 30 or 40 minutes. And what we've got finally, and you could have let it sit more than 40 minutes if you needed to. You've got the rice slightly moist and basically cooked. Now this is going to get transferred into a bowl and mixed with the other ingredients. Now I've weighed out about 100 to 120 grams of this concentrated beef, and we're going to cut it into small pieces. Doesn't seem like very much beef, but it packs a lot of flavor, and there's a lot of other ingredients that are going to be going in here too. So it's not shredded, it's just like this. So here's the rice that was transferred. I'm adding the beef to this. We've got seasonings. This is the marjoram, oregano, black pepper, Parmesan cheese, grams pomegranate seeds, freshly knocked out. A tablespoon of crushed garlic, .30 grams chopped shallots, ounce of lemon juice, 30 milliliters. We've got 100 grams of artichoke hearts, and these are packed in oil. You can see the notes there in the video. I'm going to tear them up just a little bit as I put them in. We want pieces in there. We want large pieces, but we don't want to make it so that you get bites that have, you get servings that have no artichoke at all in them, so we'll break it up a little bit. Now, give this a stir. And this next part is one of the most interesting aspects of this recipe. As far as I know, Azerbaijanis are the only people to do this, or at least they were the first. So I've got a whole egg yolk in there, if you can see that. And I'm going to put a little bit of this mixture in here. And we're going to stir this up, the first step. Now I've got a pan here, metal pan, that I can put on top of the stove or in the oven. It's going to be in both. I'm putting a little bit of oil on it, just to make sure it doesn't stick too much, and then also to give good conduction. So you want this to conduct the heat so that it will brown well. So now we've got this part that's got the egg yolk mixed into it. It's going to go down on the bottom. Spread it as evenly as you can. And of course you can do larger batches of this, and I'm not doing all of it here. I'm only doing a portion of it here, because the rest of this, you can store this in a box in the refrigerator. This is quite stable for several days, really, and then you can just bring this out and perform this last step, and you've got a dish ready to go. It's again, good restaurant dish. So we'll put a little bit more of this on top. I'm using, in all, I'm going to use about half of the mixture here, so I can do the other half another time. Let's put this like this. Now, I'm putting this directly on a burner on the stove. It's an electric stove, but if you had a flame, it would be the same thing. You want to put it directly on there and let it begin cooking. Meanwhile, the oven is preheated. Make sure you have the oven preheated and ready to go. And we're going to let this cook for 3 or 4 minutes. And I really, really want to get that bottom started cooking, because we want to crisp that up. Okay, it's been about 3.5 minutes now, and I can start to smell the aroma. Is something you have to do it a couple times before you become familiar with it. But it's going to be crossing that line between crisp and burnt mix, and that's what we want to avoid. Now this is going to go in the oven. And through the magic of video editing, it's out of the oven now, and I'm removing the foil, putting it back on top of the stove, and now we're going to give it that finish here. And when it starts really smoking, you need to take a spatula and kind of look at the bottom, see how's it doing. Is it ready? You don't want to burn it here, remember, you don't want to burn it. You just want to get it nice and crisp.
If you like my videos, look for my cookbook, now available through Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and other internet bookseller sites. Also look for my cocktail book, Cocktails of the South Pacific and Beyond, Advanced Mixology, available through Amazon online.